Okay guys, Amanda here. Some of you know me as Mandy, some of you know me as Little Frog. Lots of things are happening. I think this is my fourth YouTube video. I'm not totally sure, I can't remember anymore. But I'm slacking one. I should have made one in October, like the end of October, and I didn't do it yet. So I'm gonna try to play catch up. This topic is gonna be about me getting into jiu-jitsu and kind of like leading all the way up to where I am now. So in December, I will hit my 9-year anniversary with jiu-jitsu, and I'm a purple belt. I've been training for 9 years. I started at over 200 pounds. And if you see me now, clearly I'm no longer 200 pounds, okay? I did basically lose 100 pounds eventually. But it started with my child. So I found myself as a single mom as a high schooler. So I got pregnant in high school, I had her right after high school. And eventually, as she was entering into kindergarten, my daughter was like in love with the Ninja Turtles, and she was struggling with self-esteem issues. So I was like, hey, what can we get this kid in? What can I do for her that is really going to support her for the rest of her life and get her to kind of break out of her shell and find her self-confidence? So then I found jiu-jitsu, and I got her started in jiu-jitsu, and she really loved it. And about 9 months later, she's like, Mom, you should try it. And the coaches were like, you should try it. And this is back when I lived in the Cape Girardeau area, and I was under Brian Imholes and Cody Kellison. So then slowly I would train once a week. I'd be super anxious about training, and it was nerve-wracking for me. I had never really done anything like that before. Growing up, my dad was in the military. Today is Veterans Day while I'm recording this, so happy Veterans Day. I appreciate you guys. He served 20 years, so I was a military brat. We moved anywhere from every 2 to 3 years we were moving, okay? And I went to 7 different schools by the time it was said and done, and I ended up finally in Missouri in 2004 in the middle of my 7th grade year. Right before we moved here, we were in Anchorage, Alaska, in a really big city, and I loved it, and it was awesome. So it was kind of culture shock when we moved to a tiny little town called Chaffee. It was very different, so it was culture shock for me. Anyways, fast forward, I ended up pregnant in high school, ended up having a kid right out of high school. I wanted to support her and do better for her and help her self-confidence, because growing up for me, I didn't do sports. I did want to, it just did not work out, okay? And I struggled to make friends, not in like, I was like a super weird kid. I just was kind of quiet and a loner, and I didn't bother to because I knew we'd move again eventually. I did have a good group of friends in Alaska. I feel like I always had a good group of friends, or a friend or two that were like my best friend, and it was always boys. We always played outside, and we were riding our bikes, and we were playing tag, and we were playing Red Rover and soccer and kickball and football and rollerblading, and whatever I could get into that was physically active, that's what I wanted to be doing. I just didn't get to get into a sport that I wanted to do. I was going to try out for the hockey team before we moved away from Alaska. And then when we moved to Chaffee, I really wanted to play soccer or hockey, and those weren't options. It was too far to take me to soccer, and hockey was just not a thing in Southeast Missouri. So then I was like, let me play tennis. Well, tennis got canceled before I made it to high school, and it was only a high school sport. My cousins did volleyball. I wanted them to have their volleyball. They've always been doing volleyball. So I left it alone. I tried basketball. I was awful at it. I really wanted to play football because I wanted like the aggressive sport. I wanted to be tackling people. But my dad was like, no, I don't want my daughter to get hurt. So fast forward, I kept active my own way, just a leisurely active way. So my daughter's in jiu-jitsu. She's loving it. I'm 200 something pounds. I spent the first 9 months of her in jiu-jitsu trying to lose my own weight. And I did get down some. So maybe when I started jiu-jitsu, maybe I was like 190. I don't feel like it made that much of a difference. I was still very overweight. So I was going once a week. It gave me a lot of anxiety. So I ended up having like a friend. I'd be like, hey, are you going to the gym today? Because I really want to go. And then maybe I'd get a headache and be like, well, I can't go this week on my day because I have the headache. So the first year was a lot of like ups and downs, training when I could. I couldn't always train. And then eventually I kicked it into gear. and I was training 2 days a week, and then I was training 3 days a week. And then I switched my job from working at a pharmacy and took a pay cut to go be a teacher because teachers got out early and teachers made it to the gym. I wasn't working until 6 p.m. So then me and my daughter were going to the gym every single day, or at least 4 days a week. And we were getting up early and going to the gym on Saturdays. And then I was quickly losing the weight. And then eventually I was like maybe stuck at like that 150 area. And I was like, I was talking to my coach. I was like, Brian, I really want to lose some more weight. Like I'm trying to figure out, like I'm 5'1", like I need to be a little bit smaller. He goes, what are you eating? I was like, well, it's not that great right now, and I know what I could be doing instead. He's like, well, there you go. He's like, you gotta make some more changes. So I did, and I really dug into the nutrition side of it and decided, all right, here we go. I want to compete. I want to drop some weight. I had already competed at like 170 the first time as a white belt. I competed at 150 the second time as a white belt, and the third time as a white belt right before COVID, 130. I was competing at 130. I felt really good. I was like, my blue belt's coming. There's my old blue belt and my favorite gi from blue belt that I competed in the most and ripped the pants 100 times. And then I was like, okay, here we go. And then I competed and I did well and I won some and I lost a couple and I got like silvers and bronze and stuff. And then COVID came and I had to take COVID off. So then I took COVID off. And this is still before I lived in St. Louis. This is the first 4 years of my jiu-jitsu. So I didn't train at all really during COVID. I think I hit up Arnold with my boyfriend at the time, Derek. Otherwise, I was kind of scared. I didn't want to have to wear a mask. That made me panic, so I didn't go out in public. I was doing Taibo at home, and I dropped a little bit again. And then I went back to work the following school year down in Chaffee, and so I was still training down there, but I was kind of slow with it because on the weekends I was in St. Louis, and I was too scared to go drop into another gym as a little white belt. And then shortly after that, so August of 2020, this is all from December 2016 to August 2020, I finally got my blue belt. And then I finished up that school year, and June of 2021, I moved to St. Louis. And when I first moved up here, I was like, Brian, I need help picking out a gym. You know, I want to pick something that's gonna be close to my house. And Kyle Watson's was pretty close to my house. And then eventually Brian found out he was losing one of his assistants at the Gracie Humaita Eureka. So he's like, hey, if you're interested, I have a job for you. So I went to work for Brian for a couple of years at Gracie Humaita Eureka, and actually now from about 21 to about 24, I spent that time kind of building my relationship with my boyfriend and the gym and training at Eureka for most of the time, and we built up a women's group, and then I was cross training at JW's, and I was like I really want to get back into competing. So then we started to set up a plan to compete, and I was like, all right, I really want to go back to 130. I don't like competing at 150. There's a couple times where I was like dropping down and I was going to be in the 130 to 140, and then there was nobody in that division. I remember the St. Louis IBJJF. So I kind of spent blue belt going and realizing that the 150 and the 140 groups were not for me, and that I really wanted to be at that 130 group. So at the end of blue belt, I dropped back down to 130. I put a lot of work into it. I was going to comp classes, I was running, I was lifting a little bit, mostly just going and getting some runs in. And then I started having some relationship issues. So I went through a separation, and that was 24, 23. Let me think about this. It's 24 now. Okay, so 23, by the time 23 was coming around, I was back to 130. I was going through my separation, and it was towards the end of my blue belt, and I had won some, I had lost some, but I wasn't performing the way I wanted to. So then I really amped it up, and I finally got the gold medal I was looking for at AGF in 2024. And then I got my purple belt. So now we're hitting 2024, we're July 2024. I had just won a couple of things at blue belt. I did perform the way I wanted to in those last matches, and I was pretty satisfied, and I was sitting back at 130, and I was like, let's do this. We got my purple belt, I'm ready to go. Some things came up, and with my kid and my separation and moving to my new apartment on my own, and based on some social choices as well, I was like, you know what? It's time for me to move on. I don't want to focus on teaching right now. It's a lot to be a competitor and help out at the gym and coach kids classes, and so purple belt was a new me, right? Purple belt, I moved to Phil Lampe's in Wentzville, Missouri, and it was great. It was absolutely fabulous. We trained a little bit differently. The girls were very tough. We put in a lot of work, and it was awesome. So 3 months into my purple belt, I went and took a super fight at the CXBJJ. It was October 19th of 2024, and it was with my old teammate. She was the one that kept me on the mats as white belt, Andrea. And Andrea was incredible. It didn't matter that I had 100 pounds on her most of the time that we trained together. And then for just a sliver of time, maybe 4 or 5 months, we were purple belts at the same time, which I thought it was super cool because I looked up to her for a really long time. And I still do. I think she's great. And so we took a super fight. I still had weight on her, but she definitely had technique and muscle. And I had been just getting into lifting more consistently by then in October of 24. And I was like, all right, I'm good, I'm ready to go. And our match was awesome. And unfortunately, I ended up having to tap with like a second or two left to an armbar. And even if I didn't tap and I let the timer go out, she still would have won. She was attacking and attacking and attacking and attacking. I was like, dang. I was like, that's awesome. Like, I'm so proud of her. Like, she deserved the tap. So I also was like, you know what? Like, she's trying to rip my arm off. Like, I need to tap right now. It was great, and I really want another super fight again. It's really hard to find me matches. She was a great matchup for me. But I do drop in and see her now once in a while. Okay, so then, let's see. After that, I was pretty motivated to start jumping into some more, but I did coach wrestling. So last year was my first year coaching high school wrestling. I helped with the middle school team before that because my daughter was on it, and me and the head coach were like, hey, you know what, she is going to keep wrestling in high school, and I know you've never had girls at the high school wrestling before, but I'm here to support it. I would love to be a part of it. If you need a girls coach, I'd love to be there as well. Like, whatever you need, like, even if I'm just volunteering, even if I have to come into the wrestling room and just be her partner because she doesn't have anybody, I will do it. So then he kind of thought about it, and he's like, we'd like to hire you as the assistant girls coach. We want to try to get some more girls in. His daughter ended up joining too. And so now we have 6 ladies on our girls team, and we have 20 something boys, maybe, yeah. Wrestling just started, and we're missing a group of kids still because people are sick and people have things they're taking care of still, but overall we have about 35 to 40 kids total enrolled in our wrestling program in the city at a charter school where it's a bunch of smart little kids, smart big kids. They're all bigger than me. These science nerds are just wrestling their little hearts out, and it's pretty amazing. My time at Gracie Humaida was awesome, and Phil was awesome as well, and so I spent a year under Phil. And it was pretty eye-opening. Like, dang, there's different rooms and different styles of rooms and different levels of rooms. And so then I started dropping in at Edwardsville. So it was Head Nod Edwardsville, under Ron. And my daughter really liked training with his daughter, and she had kind of stepped back from jiu-jitsu for a while. So she really enjoyed training with his daughter, and so she got back into it, and I was kind of dropping in, and I was like, this room's different too. And then I started exploring and researching, and I have big goals for myself. Like, I want to be a world champion. I don't care if it's in the masters division. I don't care if I am not a black belt until I'm 40 years old. I just want to train jiu-jitsu as much as I can. Now, I've been sick this week, and it has been absolutely terrible. Because having strep really put me down, but I usually get it once a year, and so I've been out a few days. But I should be back once this headache's gone. So eventually, even though I was starting to finally win and see the results that I wanted, based on where I live and my job and the access to other gyms, I had to make a really tough decision to part ways with Gracie Humaida. Nothing against them. I just needed to do something different for me, and it's been incredible. So I've been at Kyle Watson's, which, if you remember earlier in the video, I did talk about originally me and Brian Impulse had picked out that gym for me, and so it was really cool. And I dropped in and I was like, this is different, and this might be what I need. So I decided to try it out. And I've had a couple competitions then, and I post about those as well, and I have one. So 9 years in, all right, 9 years in, I train jiu-jitsu, and I keep training jiu-jitsu because it probably saved me. It saved my kid, and it helped her become a better person. But there's been so many times in life that life has thrown things at me. I was a mom at 18 years old. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. Like, seriously, no clue. I didn't want to be a mom. That was difficult. That was really difficult on me. But I love my kid. Don't get me wrong. I love my kid. I probably will ever have more. But jiu-jitsu helped me be the person that I was always craving to be since I was little. Since I was a little kid, I just wanted to go play outside and be active and do things and be fit and have muscles that I could flex. And I just never really had done it yet. I hadn't found where I was supposed to be. I hadn't found what I should be doing. And then one day, just jiu-jitsu was there and it clicked, and I just was like, there's absolutely no way I would have left unhealthy relationships. There's no way I would have changed my job to something I'm actually good at anyways. There's no way I would be talking to people about anything all the time. I don't care who the person is. I show up on the mats, and you need a partner, cool, let's train. I don't think you're gonna hurt me, let's train. You're 100 pounds bigger than me, I'll roll with you, but you gotta sit on your butt. I'm only 125 pounds, I'm only 5'1". I can only do so much. You've never done this before, you're out of shape, I'll help you. You have questions, you wanna pick my brain, you wanna know what I did to lose the weight, I will help you. You wanna know how I recover and can train 5 days a week for 2 and 3 and 4, 5 hours a day, I will help you. It doesn't matter to me. I just want jiu-jitsu to help people the way it helped me. It helped me learn to love myself. It helped me to make decisions for myself that I never thought I'd be making. I moved 2 hours away from my family, and at first it was for a boy, and then eventually when that ended, I stayed for the jiu-jitsu. The jiu-jitsu in St. Louis is incredible. I don't have much of a social life, but that's okay. On the mats, talking about jiu-jitsu. In my messages, talking about jiu-jitsu, posting about jiu-jitsu, that's all I really need. Over summer, I got to travel to Atlanta and compete, and that was incredible. I had a friend go with me, and even though they didn't know how to coach me, they helped me with my food, they helped me cut a little bit of weight because I was still trying to make sure I was in the proper weight class, and I had put on a couple pounds from lifting, which is good. I felt strong, I have been feeling strong. I'm going to keep lifting, but I am gonna learn a little bit more about cutting some of the fat off and building the muscle, but also losing some of the weight on the scale. I have always suffered from a little depression, a little anxiety. I've always felt like a loner. And I'm gonna guess essentially you could say I feel like a gypsy because I'm all over the place. I know a little bit of people here and a little bit of people there. But there are days that I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to be alive. And then I go to jiu-jitsu and there it is. And it gives me a purpose. It makes me feel alive and purposeful and like I belong somewhere. Every gym I've ever been at, I have found my little niche. I have found the people that I want to train with, that train hard like me, that have some of the same goals as me. But something was still missing. And maybe something is still technically missing for me because I want to travel most weekends. I would love to have like a van where I'm just, hey team, let's go. This competition this weekend, who's in? I got 6 seats, you know? Even if I'm just at the tournament and I'm not competing, I love it. I love being surrounded by jiu-jitsu people who live and breathe that life. And I still have hopes that maybe one day I will open a gym, my own gym that I want to live above. It was always like, it'd be cool if I had it that way. It'd be cool if I lived right next door. Ultimately, if I had the perfect setup in the whole entire world, it would be a giant warehouse. And it would be mats with a garage door you can open. That's one thing I loved about Phil's and Head Nod Edwardsville. I love that giant garage door you can open up. And then you also have a big kitchen right there and like a lounge area, and the kitchen offers meal prep services for athletes, and it offers coffee if you're training at 6 a.m. and it offers smoothies if you're coming in for lunch class and you need a smoothie to go so you can get back to work, and showers. And the lounge area has the biggest TV you could ever imagine, because who doesn't want to watch Master Worlds or Adult Worlds on the big screen, or UFC? I still love UFC. My cat just jumped. Or like, okay, then upstairs, so we've got all that downstairs, right? The main space. And then upstairs, of course, my little loft for me and my cat. It'll be my own little, kind of like a studio apartment within my space that's closed off. But I also want to offer like Airbnb bedrooms. So-and-so from Texas, or so-and-so black belt from Florida, or so-and-so black belt from, I don't know, Australia, Ireland, Germany, anywhere. Like, I don't care who I know or who it is. Hey, Amanda, I need to visit St. Louis for this event, or this friend I'm gonna see, and I'm gonna be at the airport, and I just need a ride. I would like to rent your room. Yeah, that's cool, man. We're also gonna have like a big open mat. Or hey, if you want to teach anything at my gym while you're here, that'd be cool. Or the jiu-jitsu Airbnb all-inclusive resort, but it's not like a resort on the beach. It's just a giant warehouse just chilling in the middle of St. Louis, or I don't know, Tennessee or Kentucky or Louisiana or Florida at the beach. I don't care as long as it's not freezing. And maybe we have like, I don't know. But that's kind of my jiu-jitsu journey. I got a little deep there, and then I got a little hopeful there. But I'm always here if you ever want to talk about jiu-jitsu. What works for me, what doesn't work for me. If I know someone that can help you better than me, I'm gonna direct you to them. I did lose 100 pounds. I didn't hire a nutritionist. I didn't hire a personal trainer. I did a lot of research. I got certified on my own for a couple of things. It's just incredible. It's incredible. I have seen jiu-jitsu save so many people. There's absolutely no way that I would go without this. It's not just a sport for me. And my goals definitely include, I want to go to PAMS. I want to go to Master Worlds. A lot of the girls that I've ended up competing with over the last couple of years, I've noticed a lot of them they have been natural athletes, or athletes that have been athletes for a long time. They started in high school or middle school or whatever with some kind of sport, and then they wanted something else as an adult. I'm not saying I'm the biggest underdog in the world, but I didn't get those things. So I'm hoping that eventually I'm that underdog in my division that just comes up and finally makes it to the top, and I can podium at more IBJJFs, and then eventually podium at the big things. I'm doing it for me though. Proving it to me as a kid who was playing Red Rover in the 7th grade, hanging out with the boys, chopping my hair off, making my mom sad about it, skateboarding with my brother, that I can do some cool shit. And then it keeps my brain right too, you know? You get to see so many people that are like, well, I have depression and jiu-jitsu helps me a lot. Or people check on people too. So yeah, like, well, I know that guy is here at jiu-jitsu because he suffers from this, and I haven't seen him in a couple days, so why don't we call on him? And that's helpful too. Like, people are there. People actually care. People want to see you succeed. And if you're in a room that you don't feel like people care, people want to see you succeed, there's other rooms. I know it can be hard to switch gyms or say goodbye. It's kind of like switching jobs or saying goodbye. You build those relationships, and you have to leave some of those positive ones behind to find what you really need. But jiu-jitsu, really in the right room and around the right people, and I've met so many good people over the last 9 years in each of the rooms that I've been in. They are there for you. They're going to love you, and they're going to help you succeed, and they want to see you succeed. So I don't know why, but I fell in love with jiu-jitsu, and I'm unsure if I will ever fall in love with anything else the way I have fallen in love with jiu-jitsu. I did in my relationships because I wanted jiu-jitsu, and I didn't want to sacrifice my jiu-jitsu time. And that is a little selfish of me. I will say that. That is pretty selfish of me, but I've never wanted anything more than to just live, and breathe all of the jiu-jitsu. It would be cool if I was doing seminars someday, but I'm only a little purple belt. I don't care if it's men, women, kids, teens, whatever. I do love helping the teenagers. That is one thing. Little kids are fun and their jiu-jitsu is cute. But one thing I've always enjoyed, and I work with middle schoolers and then I coach high schoolers. They need someone there for them the most. And I think if they turn to wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and then their coaches also are like really there for them, I feel like that is something that nobody can change. Like, of course, a lot of these kids have their parents, their grandparents, their aunts and uncles, but having a coach is different. A coach is like a big brother or big sister you didn't know you had, and you relate over a sport that is physically and mentally exhausting. And I think it's really important to have that in our lives. And I think I don't know, I just love jiu-jitsu, okay? And I think it's good for a lot of people. Is it for everyone? I would like to say yes, but not every room is for everyone. So you kind of have to find what you're looking for, what you want, and what you need. And it might be in the gym across town, and it might be a gym that's a little bit further away. You have to decide what's worth it. And you have to find your people in that gym too. Maybe it's like, oh, I really love this coach and I really love training here, but maybe I need a little bit of a community in here. So get to know some of the people in the gym. Maybe you just go in and you just train. And some days I want to go in and I just want to train and leave. And some days I want to go in and fuck around a little bit and make my friend Marissa like die laughing. Or me and Katie, anytime we train together, we make awful jokes and we're completely obnoxious. And then when me and people like Jessica train, or when people like me and Andrea train, we just want to try to kill each other and then laugh about it afterwards and watch each other compete. And my friends like Josh and Dan and Lucas, they are giants and they still kept me safe on the mats and trained with me. And they were my friends, and we'd go eat food. We always had sushi afterwards. So there's your people. Your people, you will find your people. You will find people. If you need friends, you will find people. If you feel like a loner, you will find people. I still feel like a loner sometimes, but I have found people. I'm still looking for the people that want to be crazy like me, though, and get a minivan. I would consider a short bus. I can drive those. I drive those for wrestling, so. And live in a gym and drive the short bus or the minivan and put our big logo on it. That was one thing I saw in Atlanta is this big giant van had their gym logo on it, and there was a bunch of people coming out of their van with their logo on their gis, and they were all at a tournament together. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. It's like, I have a minivan for my family. I have a minivan for my jiu-jitsu team. And then I went to Orlando all by myself. That was an experience. I did talk about that. That was the first video I made. I kind of did a recap. That was incredible. Like, I'm not a huge fan of traveling alone, but it was a little bit of self-discovery when I did that, and I thought it was really good for me. So yeah, just more jiu-jitsu and trial and error. There was ups and downs. I told you my weight went up a couple times, and I had to get it back down. It takes a lot of work, but I'm here for it. 9 years coming up, purple belt. I've been competing as soon as I got my purple belt. I haven't stopped, and I don't want to stop. I have a couple months I have to stop just because wrestling's picking up, but I'm still going to try to compete again in January, I hope. Fingers crossed. And then February, I probably won't compete. It gets really crazy in February. And then I'm trying to go to Pam's. I went once as a blue belt, and I got smashed in a couple weight classes above me now. I'm also trying to go down one more weight class and give it a try. I don't know if I'll do it by Pans or for Pans or at Pans, but those are things coming up that we'll talk about. I am going to try my best to get down to 118 in the gi and get some more competitions in. So 2026, I'm gonna try to decide, am I doing 118 in the gi or 129 in the gi, where am I going to stay permanently for the rest of my jiu-jitsu career? So I'm excited for 2026. There's some cool things coming, some more self-discoveries coming, and now I'm at Kyle's, and so it'll be a new experience. So yeah, peace out.